Well, good morning, fam and friends, and once again, thank you for taking this opportunity to join me as always. I am your host, Chi-Town's own. Excuse me for that, I apologize. And thank you again for joining me. For those of you watching again for the first time, do feel free to subscribe for further updates or any breaking news if we happen to have any again. And as always, of course, we have a ton of breaking news to follow this morning. As the Democrats continue to with their inquiry for an impeachment to try to get Trump impeached before the 2020 electoral on supposed dirt that they have on Trump for supposedly attempting to get some kind of dirt on Joe Biden by supposedly asking the Ukrainian prime minister to investigate Joe Biden and the dealings between him and his son there, of course. But we've seen how the far left continue to try to lie. We've seen this past week how Adam Schiff tried to put words into President Trump's mouth that were not in that transcript, of course. And when he was called out about it, he had the nerve to sit there and say that it was a parody. But again, we do know that President Trump has declared war on the Democrat Party. As it goes on to further read, I will be leaving a link in regards to all of this below, where it declares that the Trump administration sends a sketching letter to the House Democrats rejecting their participation in the partisan and unconstitutional inquiry. But it just goes to show the seriousness of things and how serious things are really getting and how desperate the Democrat Party really is, that they have to continue to make up lie after lie after lie. And again, with everything that's going on, we do know that Rudy Giuliani is prepared to represent President Trump in this inquiry impeachment. We now know that former South Carolina Representative Trey Gowdy is prepared to also represent President Trump, need be, in the event that this goes to Congress, of course, to try to get President Trump impeached, which we already know it's not going to happen. Even if they were to attempt to have President Trump impeached, or they got enough votes in the House, because the Democrat Party does control the House. Keep in mind, the Republican Party is still in control of the Senate. And what do I mean by that? Even though the bill may pass through the House, it still has to pass through the Senate. And members of the Senate have already stated that it's not going to pass, which is, good news to many of you who may, be, registered Republicans or even Trump supporters for that matter, which I'm sure a majority of you are, which myself included. Again, it just really goes to show just how desperate the Democrat Party truly is. But Trump is not going down without a fight. It was just the day before yesterday. Well, I reported that one of Trump's former staff members that was assigned to his Trump organization there had a gut feeling that Trump was either going to resign before he can be impeached. But again, many of us have probably already taken that with a grain of salt already, because, if those of us who know Trump know he's a fighter. He's not going to give up easy. And he's going to continue to fight, because we know as well as he does, as well as anyone else does, that this is all lies. Otherwise, again, Adam Schiff would not have to keep lying like they stated yesterday in yesterday's press conference, at Capitol Hill. And it's obvious, if you've seen yesterday's press conference, just how truly ugly things are really starting to get. Where Jim Jordan even went on to state about how, Adam Schiff continues to lie day in and day out. How he lied about how he never spoke with this first whistleblower 3 days in advance before the whistleblower releasing this complaint or either filing this complaint. Adam Schiff lied about that. He lied about, what was in the transcript. Of course, we've seen that firsthand, how, again, he tried to put words into President Trump's mouth, which was not in the transcript again. And of course, we've seen how Matt Gaetz even, went on to call, Adam Schiff a kangaroo. And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what the Democrat Party is. He went on to state, and I may be paraphrasing here just a little bit, but he went on to state what we see is a malicious kangaroo impeachment court. and went on to call a chairman Schiff a kangaroo. And it just goes to show. I mean, I know some of you may have other choice words for Adam Shifty Schiff, as many of us call him Shifty because he shifts from one lie to a next. A perfect example, how many of you remember Russia and how he claimed to had substantial evidence proving that there was collusion, there was Russia collusion between President Trump and Russia interfering with the 2016 election, which we knew from the very beginning was a complete lie. And, after months of the Mueller investigation, this is before Mueller released his investigation, and it showed that of course, there was no Russia collusion whatsoever. But, of course, to Shifty Schiff, the chairman there, he claimed to have had evidence. But when asked whether or not would he produce it, all he had to say was, "Don't push me." But it just goes, again, as I've said, to show that they continuously lie to try to get our President Trump, out of office, based on the fact that, they're hurt. They can't get over it. The American people have spoken, and they're trying to sit there and say otherwise, and they cannot take it because it doesn't fit their narrative. And it's quite frankly, it's really sad what the Democrat Party stands for. For those of you who really know the true history of the Democrat Party, you really need to take a deeper look into the history of the Democrat Party. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. The late Robert Byrd, who was a sworn Democrat, in the Senate, and of course was a grand wizard of the KKK. And of course, who was it, that greatly mentored, the late Robert Byrd? None other than yours truly, Hillary Clinton. And of course, Joe Biden as well. But again, that's a completely different story for a different time. But, for those of you who probably wondering why, who see this and wonder why I'm a registered Republican, just ask Condoleezza Rice. She knows why her father's her father was a registered Republican. For example, for those of you who probably remember Senator Jim Crow of Alabama, back in I don't know how long ago it was, but you know where I'm coming from. And again, with everything that is going on today, you better get your facts straight and stop trying to make our president out to be a liar. Like yesterday, for example, I was in a heated, conversation back and forth with a couple of those YouTube trolls or whatever, and all they had to sit there and say was, "Oh, you're so gullible, he's nothing but a liar." And when you attempt to question him, well, what did President Trump lie about? You get the, "Oh, well, he lies about everything." Well, and I challenge this guy, whoever it was, behind this fake account, what exactly what is everything? Tell me, what has he lied about? And he replied back again, "Well, he lies about thousands of things." I'm like, "Oh, well, and the Clinton hasn't lied about lots of things either." And of course, when I said that, he couldn't reply back or whatever. And then a few of his friends joined in with the childish name calling or whatever, because they don't have a legit argument to back their story. They just do not want President Trump in office. And they're doing everything, as I've said again, to try to get this man out of office. But thankfully, he is prepared to fight. Rudy Giuliani is said that he is prepared to represent him. Trey Gowdy, excuse me, I apologize, said he's prepared to join the fight to represent President Trump, and so on. But I'm going to go on to leave this link here, but I'm going to play this video by Fox News here, if you all just bear with me.
Putting Bob Mueller back in the spotlight. Did the former special counsel lie under oath?
Griff Jenkins is covering all this from Washington for us this morning. Griff, a lot to keep track of here. Tell us what we need to know at this hour. Good morning.
Well, Sandra, good morning. The White House is really outright declaring war. That's part of why they blocked the now subpoenaed EU ambassador yesterday. Here's how White House counsel Pat Cipollone laid it out in a scathing letter to Speaker Pelosi and the chairman of the three committees investigating, saying, "President Trump and his administration reject your baseless and unconstitutional efforts to overturn the democratic process. Your unprecedented actions have left the president with no choice President Trump and his administration cannot participate in your partisan and unconstitutional inquiry under these circumstances. That letter outraging Speaker Pelosi, who fired back with this. The White House should be warned. The continued efforts to hide the truth of the president's abuse of power from the American people will be regarded as further evidence of obstruction. Mr. President, you are not above the law. You will be held accountable. Meanwhile, it's unclear if Giuliani will accept an invitation from Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham to testify in open session. And perhaps more significantly, it's unclear what will happen on Friday when Marie Yovanovitch, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, is scheduled to testify. White House has not said if they'll try and block her, but she is still employed by the State Department. She wasn't fired. She was just recalled. So the White House could, in fact, instruct her to not appear. Whether or not she will comply or not remains to be seen. Sandra?
Griff, meanwhile, what are we learning about Robert Mueller from these new revelations about his investigation?
Well, it's not good for Robert Mueller. Multiple officials telling
Definitely
Fox
not.
News government documents show that when Mueller met with President Trump in May of 2017, he was, in fact, pursuing the post of FBI director, despite denying it under oath this summer.
So you don't recall on May 16, 2017, that you interviewed with the president regarding the FBI director job?
I interviewed with the president, and
Regarding the FBI director job?
It was about the job and not about me applying for the job.
So your statement here today is that you didn't interview to apply for the FBI director job?
That's correct.
But what we've learned is at the time of the now famous meeting, James Comey, who remember was fired by as FBI director just days earlier, Mueller, unbeknownst to the president, wound up being named special counsel the very next day to investigate the president. The president's former attorney, John Dowd, ripping Mueller for meeting with Trump and interviewing for the job, knowing he's going to investigate the president the very next day and never brings it up. Mueller did not respond to a request for comment. Sandra?
Another busy morning in Washington.
Well, of course, as always, you see how they continue to lie once again. But again, I mean, it just goes to show, as I've said, all the Democrat Party does is continue to lie. They accuse President Trump of obstruction of justice. They want everything they possibly can, friends, as you heard, to try to take him down. But President Trump is prepared to fight. Again, and we need to pray for him because they're going to do everything they possibly can once again. Even though we know they're not going to be able to get him impeached, what kind of damage will this do for the Democrat Party? Nobody knows. But the Democrat Party has already stated previously that they are prepared to lose the House if they need to in order to try to get Trump impeached. Because they already know. Like I said, why do you think some of the Democrats have already come forward and stated that this could be bad? They don't encourage an impeachment because it could be bad for them when it comes to the House. It could be bad for them going into 2020. It could be bad for the American people and could cause division, as one of the Democratic senators have even stated. But, the Democrat Party does not care. Well, at least a majority of them don't. Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, who else? Joe Biden. The list goes on. Hillary Clinton. This is exactly what, George Soros actually wants. We know full well he's funding, far leftist, a domestic terrorist organization, Antifa, that try to, cause terror in the streets. We just seen recently, again, how they were literally, groups of members of Antifa were literally chased through the streets by federal agents with weapons drawn for apparently attempting to throw rocks and projectiles at a federal ICE building there in the downtown area of Portland, Oregon. And, it just goes to show just how crazy things are really getting. But, we know that this is all funded by guys like George Soros, the far left, because they're pushing this narrative. They want to see division in America. They want to see this country fall. They want to turn our country into a far leftist, socialist, third world regime like, Bernie Sanders does. And, Bernie Sanders himself has even gone on to state, everything's just fine in places like Venezuela. Last I checked, there's people in Venezuela that have to wait 10 hours in line for, a loaf of bread and a bag of rice and cheap toilet paper, while the socialist dictator probably gets his food handed to him on silver platters over there. But again, with all that's going on, it truly goes to show. But I hope that Trump is prepared to fight. I know he's going to fight. He's prepared to take the stand. And again, we really need to pray for him. We need to pray for our country. Again, we need to pray for revival because, things are getting serious with everything that's going on. with another Democratic debate. I think it's tomorrow. It's going to be another circus. That's all I have to say. Compared to the last one, many of them had nothing to hide. We've seen, every time, what was it? Bernie Sanders, every time he spoke, he looked like he was about to blow a gasket. We've seen, what was it, Andrew Yang, him guaranteeing, that if he's elected, he promises 10 lucky families $1,000 a month for an entire year. We've seen Beto O'Rourke absolutely admit he didn't hold nothing back when he was questioned about taking away guns, when he said, hell yes, we're coming for your guns. This is what they want. They want to take us down. And this is, you want to talk about what's unconstitutional? Just look at what the Democrat Party is trying to do now, and what all these Democrats that are in the race want for America. It speaks for itself. And then Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and others talk about, Trump's trying to destroy the Constitution. Don't believe that lie. It's the Democrat Party that wants to destroy the Constitution, just like it was the KKK many years ago. If you do your real homework and take a deeper look into the history of the Democrat Party and the KKK, you will see for yourself, brothers and sisters. But again, with that being said, we have a list of all kinds of breaking news again going on. I believe it was earlier today as well. There was some kind of a shooting at a synagogue there in Halle, Germany, where it was believed to be 2 people were wounded by a suspect. From what reports indicated, the suspect was appeared to be wearing all camouflage. However, though, from what reports are indicating, this suspect or someone of interest is in custody at this time, from what we do know as of right now. But again, there's so much to talk about with everything that is going on again. It was also reported here locally, not far from where I currently live now, in the same neighborhood, where a Jewish family's a garage was actually vandalized with swastikas and racial graffiti as well. But I will be leaving links in regards to all of them so you can see and read into it yourselves. But again, we really need to stay prayed up and pray for this country. And most importantly, pray for our president, again, because things are definitely getting very serious with this complete unconstitutional fiasco with the Democrat Party and trying to take our president down again. But with that being said, friends, if we happen to have any more breaking news, I will do my very best to bring that to you, of course, as always. I am your host, Chi-Town's Own. So for those of you, again, watching for the first time, do feel free to subscribe as always. And again, I will do my very best to bring you the latest breaking news as always. And again, God bless, my friends, and I will talk to you all later.